What's going on, guys? Welcome to my driver ratings for the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix. So we had a really exciting race in Singapore. We finally had someone other than Max Verstappen and Red Bull win a race. Of course, Carlos Sainz winning for Ferrari. That was amazing. We had a top four battle right to the end, and all four cars, none of them were Red Bull, so that was also really good to see. But just in general, it was a very good race. A bit of a lull in the middle, but safety cars and VSCs definitely brought that up, and the last 15 or 20 laps were absolutely amazing. So exciting to watch. So yeah, really good race. Let's get into the ratings here. So first of all, I'm trying to make sure I've got plenty of energy, but sorry if I do seem like I'm a bit less energy today. I really didn't sleep very well last night, and I've been at work all day. Just got home from work. I've had a Red Bull, so hopefully that'll perk me up a bit, but I am feeling pretty dead right now, to be honest. So I'm just going to try and get through this. Sorry if I don't quite have the energy I usually do, but I think at the moment I'm alright. I might lull towards the end of this video. Anyway, let's get into it straight away with Alexander Albon. So he finished P11. However, he was running in, well, I don't think it was P8 at the time. It was like P9 or something. But with Russell and like Ocon DNFing, he would have probably been P8, but he got punted out of the way by Sergio Perez. So yeah, that was very unfortunate for Alex. He was on for like I said, probably a P8 finish otherwise. So that's really unfortunate, especially in the Williams that didn't look like a particularly good car here. That would have been a great performance. So I'm going to give Alex, all things considered, that wasn't his fault. I'm going to give him an A because he would have finished in the points. Even with that punt, he still finished P11. I think it's a good weekend from Albon. Just very unfortunate that Perez pushed him out of the way. Fernando Alonso, oof, his worst weekend of the year by far. Possibly his worst weekend since he's returned to Formula One. I think I can say that. It was a bad weekend for Alonso. The Aston Martin didn't seem very good for a start, which is crazy because at the start of the season, Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso specifically were like, Singapore's going to be the best track for us. It's going to be such a good track. It was not a good track for Aston Martin. His qualifying was okay. I think he qualified P6, P7 or something. He was in the top 10. And so qualifying was fine. Not as good as maybe he was hoping, but it was fine. And then, yeah, just in the race, he... well, it all kind of went wrong at the start when he went over the pit entry, got a 5-second penalty. He served that penalty in the pits. The pit stop was a really slow pit stop. That wasn't his fault, but he had a really slow pit stop. Then he locked up and went wide into a corner, and that screwed him over as well. He literally finished last of the finishers. It was an awful race from Fernando Alonso. I think anything lower than a D is harsh, so I'm going to put him in D. Yeah, he didn't crash or anything, and like I said, the pit stop wasn't his fault. That was a really long pit stop. That really screwed him over, but the pit entry thing is something that you just don't see a driver of his experience doing. And yeah, locking up as well and finishing last of the runners. Not a good weekend for Alonso, that's for sure. It may even be an E, but yeah, I think for now I'm going to say D. There's some thoughts of maybe there was a bit of damage with his car, but we're not 100% sure on that. But I think a D. It might be a little bit reasonable, but yeah, it was pretty poor. Valtteri Bottas did not finish. I don't really know where Bottas was this race. He out-qualified Zhou in qualifying, but other than that, I didn't really see anything of him. Let's see. Yeah, he just kind of disappeared from the race. I didn't even realize he'd retired. He just kind of disappeared all of a sudden, as the Alfa Romeos do quite often. So yeah, not really anything to say about there. Pierre Gasly finished a very good P6 actually, was looking pretty good. Ocon definitely had the pace on him over this weekend, although he was pretty close with him from what I remember when Ocon retired, and had pretty good pace all weekend actually. So apart from, he did get knocked out in Q2 though, didn't make it through to Q3 I don't think, did he? But yeah, I'm going to give Gasly a B. I think it was a very good performance. P6 is very reasonable for sure. Yeah, 3 seconds ahead of Piastri. I think it was a pretty decent weekend for Gasly. It's a good finish P6, although you have to consider that with Ocon and Russell still finishing, it would have been P8. But yeah, still a good weekend. Lewis Hamilton, interesting one. Finished P3. I think the start of the race for Hamilton was not good because he went diving into turn one, cut the corner, stayed ahead of Russell and Norris for a lap or so, eventually let them past, and wasn't looking anything amazing in the first stint. It was once the VSC came out after Ocon retired, the two Mercedes went onto the medium tyres to push for the win, and Hamilton then looked quicker than Russell. But yeah, it's difficult for me with Alonso because he was looking good, but he didn't have a very good qualifying compared to his teammate. You know, Russell was P2 in qualifying, Hamilton was P5, I believe. And yeah, for most of the race, didn't seem like he had the pace, but in that last stint, definitely had the pace on Russell. So, it's difficult. I feel like a B is too harsh. But it wasn't a good quali. It wasn't a good quali for Hamilton. So, you know what? I'm going to give him a B because the quali was not good. And like I said, the pace for the majority of the race wasn't that good. It was just that last stint that was very good. And if he was ahead of Russell, maybe he would have been able to go for the win, but I still think it would have been pretty touch and go. Nico Hulkenberg, I believe he started P9, both Hasses in Q3, which is crazy, and one of them actually scored points. It wasn't Hulkenberg, though. I'm going to give Hulkenberg a... he finished P13, didn't he? So I'm going to give him over 10 seconds behind his teammate. Might have been I'm going to give him a C. There's not really much more I can do. He got beaten by Magnussen in qualifying and in the race. So yeah, a C for him. Liam Lawson, what a weekend. S. What a weekend for Lawson. He scored his first points in Formula 1 in only his third race in that AlphaTauri. P9 for Lawson. What a finish, what a race, was doing amazing. Literally knocked Max out of Q3. Stopped Max from getting through to Q3. What was going on there? We haven't even talked about that. The Red Bulls weren't in the fight, and we did talk about that. They didn't even make it through to Q3, neither of them. What? It's a crazy weekend considering how the rest of the season's gone. But yeah, Lawson, almost driver of the day for me. It's between him and Carlos Sainz. I probably would just give it to Sainz, but it's a near perfect weekend for Lawson, scoring 2 points, which only puts him a point behind Tsunoda. So yeah, what a weekend for Lawson. If he isn't on the grid next year or the year after, then I think it's going to be a wasted potential for him. Charles Leclerc, P4, kind of was the sacrificial lamb for Ferrari. So yeah, I think his pace was good. I mean, in quali, it was literally like 7 thousandths of a second or something, or 700ths of a second, something like that. It was very close between him and Sainz in quali. Yeah, he really lost the pace on that second stint when they went onto the hard tyres compared to Sainz, but yeah, I'm going to go B for Leclerc. I think it could have been much better. Like you said, in qualifying, he was there or thereabouts, right with his teammate, but in the race, it just didn't quite work out. He roasted his tyres very quickly. He really fell back like a stone in the last few laps, and ended up finishing many seconds, 21 seconds behind his teammate. So, yeah, not the best weekend for Leclerc, but it wasn't terrible. Just, I think Sainz is really on one at the moment. Kevin Magnussen, yeah, P6 in qualifying, which is awesome for him. What a result. And then did just about score 1 point in the race. I'm going to give him a B. Yes, he's finally got into the points again with a Haas, but that is because of Russell and Ocon's DNFs. That is also, he did make a mistake from what I remember in the race and fell back behind his teammate, but then because of strategy managed to get back ahead and ended up being in that position to score a point. So a little bit luck-based for Magnussen, but he was mostly on top of Hulkenberg all weekend, so I think a B. We've been pretty harsh on Magnussen this season, so I think it was one of his better races for sure. Lando Norris, what a weekend for Norris. S. it's an S for Norris. He did a great job. P2 was right there in the fight for pole position, was right there with Sainz the whole race. Yes, Sainz probably did have a bit more pace than Norris this weekend, but Sainz was playing it very, very well, very smart, and giving Norris the DRS to protect him from the Mercedes, which was very good from. I mean, Sainz's strategy and his mind this race is unlike anything I've seen in a long time. Anything I've seen while I've been watching F1, to be honest. It's insane what he did this weekend. But yeah, Norris, really good pace. Just, yeah, a good race. A really good race from Norris. S. It's got to be an S. Ocon, I'm going to give an A because he was on top of Gasly again this weekend. He had the pace. He was doing really well. It was his birthday, race day, and he had a mechanical issue that put him out of the race. I think he would have probably finished P6. I don't think he would have beaten Max Verstappen, who finished 5th. But I don't know why I said that so weirdly. I was going to say Verstappen, but for some reason I went Max Verstappen. So I think he would have probably finished P6, and then Gasly would have been P7. But with Russell also going out. But yeah, it was a good weekend from Ocon, just so unfortunate with the mechanical issue. Sergio Perez finished P8. I think he got given a 5-second penalty for, I believe, the Albon shunt. But that didn't matter because he was over 5 seconds ahead of Lawson. I mean, he was, even with the penalty, he's 11 seconds ahead of Lawson, so that didn't do anything. Even a 10-second penalty wouldn't have done anything. So yeah, and he also bumped into Tsunoda on lap 1 and put him out of the race. Don't think there was any penalty for that. And yeah, was beaten by Verstappen in quali, although the gap wasn't actually massive this weekend and the car just wasn't there. So you can kind of be like fair enough for that. But yeah, all in all, I'd say pretty poor from Perez. Do I give him a D? That seemed harsh for a P8 finish, but he did effectively push 2 people out of the race, and yeah, just wasn't on the pace of Verstappen again. I mean, that's expected. A D seems harsh, but I think I'm going to go for it. I think I'm going to go for a D because he did push 2 people effectively out of the race. Tsunoda literally pushed him out of the race, and Albon pushed him out of the points. So might as well have pushed him out of the race. Yeah, another stinker from Perez, to be honest. I think it's flown a little bit under the radar this time, actually, because I don't think the Albon incident was actually like in the broadcast, was it? I don't remember seeing it anyway. But anyway, that's it for Perez. Oscar Piastri, interesting weekend for him. He got knocked out in Q1, completely screwed over by the Stroll accident. He wasn't able to set another fast lap, and his first flying lap, I guess, wasn't that great because he got knocked out. In the race, though, came back to finish P7. I think a great recovery from, I believe it was 17th he started. So I think that was actually a really good race for Piastri. Like I said, the qualifying thing wasn't really his fault, getting knocked out in Q1. The lap he was on, he said it wasn't the best lap, but it would have had the pace to get him through to Q2 and probably would have got into Q3. And the recovery was very good at a track he's never raced at before. I'm going to give him an A. I'm going to give him an A because, yeah, he could have probably set a better lap first time around in quali to get through, but it's all hindsight, isn't it, really? So I think he had very good pace this week, and it was just very unfortunate. And considering it was his first race in Singapore and his first ever race in any category in Singapore, so it was pretty good. George Russell was looking like he was going to win the race with probably 2 laps to go. He was, I'd say, the best bet to win the race. Pushed too hard, clipped the wall, crashed out. Had the pace over Hamilton for most of the weekend apart from that final stint. Was looking really good. Honestly, if he'd finished the race, even if he hadn't managed to get the win and finished P3, I probably would have given Russell a P. I might have even given him an S. I may have even given him maybe an A. But he crashed out. The pressure got to him. Do I want to be that harsh? Do I want to be harsh enough for an E? It was a last lap crash. I think I'm going to be that harsh. That might be really harsh, but yeah, he threw it away. He threw away some good points for him. I don't think he was getting the win. he just couldn't get past. He wasn't going to do it on the final lap anyway. But yeah, he threw away 15 points in the podium right in the last lap. So that's not forgivable, I don't think. E. It's not an F because he did have good pace this weekend, but that is about the worst time you could crash. Right at the end of such an enduring, physically demanding race like Singapore, to do that right at the end, yeah. I mean, the emotion he showed after in the interviews was just, it was really sad, but he put it on himself, unfortunately. Carlos Sainz, S. Do I need to say much more? What a weekend for Sainz. The last 3 weekends for him have been unbelievable. He has been so good these last 3 races or so, pretty much since the summer break we came back from the summer break. Yeah, he's been on top of Leclerc. He's been really good. Another win number 2 for Sainz here, and a more legitimate win. Let's be honest, Silverstone, I don't think he really deserved that win in a lot of ways. He deserved this win 1000%. Such a good race. Good on you, Carlos. Logan Sargent. Let me just open up my phone again. I think he finished P14, didn't he? Yeah. So basically second to last of the runners with only Alonso behind him. He was looking good at one point, then he crashed, but broke the front wing, limped back to the pits. That brought the safety car out. What are you doing, Logan? His pace after that wasn't terrible. I don't think I'm going to give him as bad of a grade as Russell, just because he's a rookie. He's done 15, 16 races now, but yeah, his pace didn't seem terrible. I think a D. He needs to do better. I honestly, at this point in time, don't see him being in Formula 1 next season. He really needs to improve. He needs to get points in the next couple of races if he's even got a chance of staying in Formula 1. I mean, we saw Mick Schumacher at Haas. He managed to score a few points, still couldn't save himself. Yeah, don't know what to say about Logan. Lance Stroll, F, didn't even start the race because of a crash in quali that was completely irrelevant because he wasn't on a lap good enough to get through to Q2 anyway, and he still threw it away. Disaster for Aston Martin this season. No. Well, it's not going well this second half of the season, but this race, a disaster for Aston Martin. Yuki Tsunoda, another disaster. He didn't even start in Monza last time. He got about halfway through the first lap and got punted off by Perez. Not his fault, but you can't really give him any more than a C. His qualifying wasn't great. He did go quickest in Q1 though, due to that craziness. But yeah. It's unfortunate for Tsunoda, especially because it's looking like he might be losing his seat at the end of this season, especially with how good Liam is going. This has actually been going on longer than I feel. I've been talking more. Maybe it's the Red Bull really getting me going. Max Verstappen, interesting weekend. Of course, he didn't win. Wasn't even on the podium. The Red Bull didn't have pace. Verstappen was looking pretty not great for most of the race. Once he got on the medium tyres, though, he stormed through, finished P5, was within half a second of Leclerc for P4. So even though he did make a mistake in qualifying, I think without that mistake, he would have got through to Q3. I think because to outweigh all the S's, we're going to give him a B. I mean, it was a pretty good charge back through the field, but yeah, just to outweigh all the S's we've given him, it's a B for Verstappen. And then finally, Zhou Guanyu finished P12, started from the pit lane, didn't have particularly great pace, but to be fair, the Alfa Romeo wasn't really there anyway. I think it's a C. It's a good old Alfa Romeo C. So there we have it. That is my driver tier list for the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.